State lawmakers wrapped up their work, then took another vote. Jacksonville lawyer Paul Renner earned the confidence of his peers and could be one of the future speakers of the House in Florida. He joins us this morning. Plus, the president crosses the Atlantic but seems to have a Russian cloud follow him. We'll talk with our political analyst about tweeting and healthcare and the office of the President of the United States of America. And a cold case since the 70s cracked open. What went into an arrest and the celebration on the way for the Freddie Farah family. All on This Week in Jacksonville. And thanks so much for joining us this morning. Florida Representative Paul Renner joins us to get started, and lots to unpack with you. I appreciate the time. We were just talking that as I've covered politics there in Tallahassee, we hadn't gotten to do this yet. So
not yet. Great to be with you.
It's a pleasure. I appreciate it. So you emerged just end of June as the Republican choice for House Speaker following 2022 elections. So there's a lot there that is really interesting. Tell me, these were different elections than has been done in the past. How was that the case?
That's right. I mean, recently we'd had these things wrapped up by primary day before anybody had served a day together. And so we instituted a new rule that said you've got to serve at least a session together to observe, because how do you know who can lead until you see who the leaders are? And so we had that opportunity so people could deliberate and have some thought before they cast their votes.
And when it came to that vote, it was you and several other people? Was it a secret ballot? How did that work?
It was. There were 4 of us, and it was a secret ballot. And they announced the results, but not obviously who voted for whom. And I think that's good, because you can, just like we have a secret ballot in this country, we're not affected by what our employer thinks or even family and friends that may disagree with us, but voting for the person we think is best. And I'm very, very privileged to have the support of my class.
Well, Representative Renner, I want to point out that what we just talked about was vote, and then 2022, here we are, 2017. So I've got a graphic here just to kind of explain it for you. If Republicans maintain control of the House and Mr. Renner maintains a seat, then he's almost guaranteed to become Speaker. Mr. Renner would follow these men who are on the list here. Current Speaker Richard Corcoran, Representative Jose Oliva from Miami Lakes, and State Representative Chris Sproles from Palm Harbor. So once you get there, how do you prepare in the meantime, I guess? Obviously, it seemed like some of what you did in the state legislature this year was aligned with the current speaker. Is this something where you're generating, what am I going to do in a few years? Or do you just have to think year by year by year as you go along right now as a state representative?
I think the strength of the House is that the members unite around principles and not personalities. And so I think as long as you have a consistent philosophy and you're moving in the same direction together. We have a class, the 2016 class as we call it, that came in and was elected with me. Very, very deep expertise and experience. We have people that each one of them knows something that nobody else in the legislature knows to that extent. And so we're really blessed because we have people that did a lot in life before they came into public service. And I think that's what we all want. We want people that in a citizen legislature who have a diversity of experience, a great deal of expertise. And so to answer your question, I'll be asking other members in our class what their vision is for their time in the House and where they think we need to move, what we need to do to move Florida forward so we better the lives of all of the people we represent.
I want to show some video from back in February in Tallahassee. We were there as you made your case in a subcommittee meeting, or a committee meeting, introducing a bill that would wipe out funding for Enterprise Florida. That's the public-private program that gets money to provide incentives for businesses, grow the economy. That's their stated purpose. But Representative Renner, your bill also would have hit Visit Florida. That's the partnership about tourism and what have you. How do you think things worked out there? What I just showed in video was early on, right, and it was met with a really forceful rebuttal from the governor's office. Mr. Scott, Governor Scott, went around the state saying, you should talk to your representatives because they don't know what they're doing when it came to this issue.
I think it's a lesson, and it's not where you start, it's how you finish. And so we started out with a very strong position on Enterprise Florida, really 2 different conversations. On Enterprise Florida, we all pay taxes, and we give up our own priorities for ourselves, for our children, with an expectation that something broad-based will come back to us, whether it's infrastructure, or education, or public safety. The only exception is really a safety net where we take care of the indigent and those that can't take care of themselves. We don't expect to give up our priorities and write a check to a private company who's already successful, who can navigate the political system to receive a tax subsidy from us. And so we thought that that really offends a fundamental principle of fairness, and we should move in a different direction for economic development so we do get the big things right. And where we wound up is giving the governor the amount of money he wanted, the flexibility he wanted, but saying that it must be spent either on infrastructure or workforce development, and that none of that money can benefit a single company. It's got to benefit the public as a whole. We all drive on those roads. We all benefit or have the opportunity to go to those education programs and better our lives and improve our opportunity.
Well, it's interesting because as you were presenting that day there in February, I think a lot of the conversation was you can't do this and tear it all down completely. And then as we got farther into the process and we saw that the governor, once some of the process had happened there during the legislative session, that it looked like those programs were going to stay. But as you mentioned, they were going to be altered. They were altered in the way that you really wanted to see? They were adjusted appropriately?
Completely. So no longer will taxpayers pick winners and losers. We won't be saying we're going to give to company A to the disadvantage of their competitor, company B. We're simply going to fund and get the big things right, the things that truly do generate economic development, good infrastructure, a quality education. Employers and people coming into the state are asking, are there workers that can fill the jobs I have to provide? And so we need to be focused on those things and getting the big things right, and that's what this bill fundamentally changes the way we do economic development. And I think you'll see other states around the country that will start to follow our lead, because it was becoming a race to the bottom. Can Florida outbid Georgia? Can Georgia outbid Florida and South Carolina? And with the taxpayers' monies doing the bidding. And so I think we're in a much, much better place, and we'll see some beneficial results from it.
Yeah. Well, as we talked just before our interview, congratulations on the vote there. And I know that you mentioned, hey, being Speaker of the House is great for Northeast Florida, but you've got to have a statewide view as well when you do that. So we'll be looking forward to more conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great to be with you.
All right, so an important part of the application process for becoming a U.S. citizen is passing a civics test. I wanted to get into this just a little bit with you. It covers important U.S. history and government topics. There are 100 civics questions on the naturalization test. How well would you do? Here's a sampling of what may be asked on that test if you take it. So for instance, why does the flag have 13 stripes? And here's some bonus material for you. Why did the American flag have 15 stripes in 1794? We'll give you the answer here in a few minutes. All right, coming up, President Donald Trump seems to have broken a lot of the conventional rules as a candidate, now as elected leader of the United States. Political analyst Rick Mullaney joins us with some insights next on This Week in Jacksonville.
This summer, enjoy a peach of a smoothie. Sip a sweet and delicious McCafe Peach Smoothie. A small McCafe frappe, smoothie, or shake is just $2 at McDonald's. Make every moment a McCafe moment.
Don't miss the massive Red Tag RV Clearance Super Sale going on now at Dick Gore's RV World in Jacksonville. Prices have been slashed to the bare bone on all new and used RVs. Find out why everyone is shopping and buying their RV at Dick Gore's RV World in Jacksonville. Airport exit.
This summer, people are experiencing all the excitement Chevy has to offer.
Oh boy, I'm looking straight up. Holy smokes. I can't tell I'm towing anything.
Wow, that's the jam right there.
Go for thrilling drives and deals at the Chevy Summer Drive.
I want to go to a Chevy dealership right when I get home.
Get the last of the 2017 Traverse LT models with 15% below MSRP. That's over $5,600 on this Chevy Traverse. See your Southern Chevy dealers.
I'll drop and speak a child. Take the weather in your heart. And wait on your tongue. The dreams I never met. Those wishes were.
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl. It's not surprising that the most memorable memorials are the ones we plan ourselves. After all, who knows you better than you? So why not get a plan together and let us take care of the details? It's what we're known for. Find out how at dignityjacksonville.com. Only a Dignity Memorial professional can celebrate a life like no other.
Harrell & Harrell is a personal injury law firm that fights for truth, safety, and justice. That's what we do. If you feel your loved one is being abused or neglected, please feel free to give me a call. I will walk you through it. I will help you through the process, and we'll make some good decisions.
Mix and match classic taste on the McDonald's McBig 2 for $5 menu. A quarter pounder with cheese, filet of fish, legendary Big Mac, or 10-piece chicken McNuggets. Any two for just $5. Add on a Coke, any size soft drink is just $1.
Let me get a McBig 2.
7 months ago, the I-Team exposed a dangerous flaw with your car, an exploding sunroof. But they aren't just exploding. Now they're flying off like a bullet.
It sounded like somebody opened the door on an airplane. It was just like, and we were just in shock.
The danger to every family on the road and why it's not an easy fix.
This type of thing could have killed somebody. Really could have killed somebody.
Highway Bullet, Monday starting at 5 on News 4 Jax. You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
And joining us now, Rick Mullaney, our political analyst for News 4 Jax and the director of the Public Policy Institute at Jacksonville University. So much to talk about, and a lot of that has to do with what's happening in Washington, D.C. these days. I'd like to talk first, I guess, about health care. And health care reform is something Republicans ran on the last year. Now President Trump takes office. He says health care reform. The congressional leadership kind of battles around. The House of Representatives puts it through, and then the Senate has a tough time. Senate, just this last week, had a revised plan. Where does this stand, and why aren't more Republicans saying, okay, good, I'm going to do it?
Kent, this is a really, really big deal, and I actually believe this is a no-win situation for the Republicans. And by that I mean the revised Senate bill is very iffy as to whether it's going to pass. And if it fails, this will be a major setback for Republicans. For the last 7 years, Republicans have talked about repeal and replace. President Trump ran on repeal and replace. And if it fails, it's a setback for tax reform and some of the savings that Republicans hope to get so they can have a more comprehensive approach on tax reform. So it's a major setback if it doesn't pass. The only thing politically that may be worse is if it does pass, because if it does pass and you own health care, and tomorrow when the CBO report comes out, it will likely show that more than 20 million Americans will lose coverage under the revised plan, that going into November of 2018, this will be a problem. President Clinton found out and President Obama found out that owning health care for the midterm elections can be devastating. And for Republicans, this could be a case of be careful what you pray for.
Yeah. Well, why? So we're talking a little bit about the Republican side. Why don't more Democrats, I guess, admit to some of the things that haven't gone well with the Affordable Care Act? I heard last week from Senator Nelson on maybe, well, there are some things that we could improve. Does this just go back to that there wasn't a bipartisan work effort to come up with this replacement plan for the Affordable Care Act?
Well, there was not a bipartisan effort when it passed, when it was originally passed with no Republican votes, and there's not a bipartisan effort now with no Democratic votes. Part of the concern of the Democratic Party is they want to fix the Affordable Care Act, particularly in the individual markets where premiums have gone up and deductibles have gone up, and they believe there's solutions to keep the basic architecture in place, but let's just fix it. The Republican notion is different. They want to repeal some of the fundamental pieces of it. That includes some of the taxes, although this latest revised bill keeps 2 major taxes of the 21 new taxes. They want to cut back on the open-ended funding of Medicaid. And so these are 2 fundamentally different views on repeal and replace. Democrats wanting to fix Obamacare, Republicans wanting to repeal and replace Obamacare.
We're talking about kind of a partisan divide on some of this. Let's talk about what's going on with the Russia investigation. And the latest revelation was that Donald Trump Jr. kind of told on himself. He put out his own emails where there was a possibility of meeting with a Russian lawyer. He was enthusiastic about it. And what's come out of that is that the president has said, hey, it's any political operative would do this. It was about opposition research. What does this show in your view?
Ken, I think this is another great example of a very strong partisan divide. Partisan divide on health care and on this issue. On this issue of the emails and then the subsequent meeting with the Russian lawyer, you've seen what I would call almost a hysterical reaction from the left saying this is treason. I don't agree with that. You've seen a very dismissive reaction from the right saying this is just listening to opposition research. I disagree with that. I do believe it's in the middle. This is a significant development, and it adds legitimacy to the investigation on the investigation of collusion. For a while there, even among some liberal commentators, they were beginning to question this investigation, which has been going on for over a year, as to what possibly related to collusion. This is one of the first pieces of public information, because Mueller may have more, public information that suggests very significantly that the Trump administration, or at least his campaign, was open to receiving this kind of information from the Russian government. And significantly, in those emails, it mentioned that the Russians were very supportive of Donald Trump and his campaign. So do I think this is significant? I do. Do I think this is a big development? I do. Do I suggest it should be hysterical from the left or dismissive from the right? I don't think so.
Donald Trump Jr. came out after this and said, well, you know what? You've got to understand. I'm paraphrasing, of course. You've got to understand, we're all kind of new to this. We're business people. This political stuff is new. Is that really a good explanation or excuse?
It's one of the best he can do under the circumstances, but it's inconsistent with the Trump narrative all this time that has been completely dismissive of the notion that anybody in his campaign had anything whatsoever to do with the offering of this information from Russia. This is a change in the narrative. Now, I do not believe this is a criminal offense, as some are trying to suggest. I don't suggest it's treason, but I am suggesting it is very significant. And I think what you're going to see is continued hysterical reactions from the left, dismissive reactions from the right up until the day that the special counsel, Robert Mueller, gives his final report and concludes the investigation. The thing I have consistently recommended is that we all take a deep breath and let the special counsel do his job.
Right. It's tough to take a deep breath these days when you've got social media and you've got instant interaction like we see on Twitter and like President Trump continues to use that platform for trying to communicate with people. So in the wake of what happened with Donald Trump Jr., we saw the president again go to Twitter. That's really different communication style than we've ever seen before. And you mentioned just a moment ago to me that, well, maybe it's because that wasn't available to other presidents, right?
No, let's face it, technology truly is changing everything. Industry, education, how we live. And President Trump has a tool, not available to past presidents, a tool in technology and Twitter that he can use. He has used it in the past during his campaign and at times during his presidency very effectively. But it has clearly been a two-edged sword for Donald Trump. He has also used it in ways that I think have hurt him significantly, not only in his agenda, but in sort of the personal view of Donald Trump. And in particular, what I call the politics of personal disparagement, which the president has used very significantly on Twitter. So does the president have a significant tool? Yes, he does. Does he sometimes use it in an effective way? I think he does. Is it also self-defeating and a setback for him? I think it is. And I think the public agrees that he would be better served, quite frankly, in terms of his agenda and the view of his presidency, if he got a group around him and they reviewed all this and he just wasn't so impulsive in some of his tweets, because I think it's been very hurtful to his administration.
Yeah, those critics, perhaps accurately, have been able to say, hey, this is beneath the dignity of the office of the President of the United States. So it's something we continue to see him use, and we'll see if it changes as we go on. We're 7 months into this presidency. So, Rick, I appreciate the insights this morning. Thanks.
Thank you, Ken.
All right, so coming up, an incredible story of a cold case solved, and we're going to talk about the Jacksonville connection. Stay with us on This Week in Jacksonville.
Just like we practiced.
Okay, we can get started.
Thanks. That was fun.
You're welcome. Nicely done.
Lease the Infiniti Q50 2-liter turbo for $309 a month. Visit your local Infiniti retailer.
Mom life is a wildlife. Then some days the animals run the zoo. But it's worth it for the bear hugs. And when it comes to feeding time, you've got this. Land O'Frost Premium Lunch Meat. Lots of protein, perfect for their lots of energy. When they love it, you'll find a moment of peace in the jungle. Land O'Frost, what those wild ones want to eat. Oh, I'll take it. Okay.
It's the flooring sale you've been waiting for. Empire Today's half-price sale. Get $2,400 of flooring for $1,200, $5,200 for an amazing $2,600. That's half the price of your entire purchase. Shop for carpet, hardwood, tile, vinyl, and laminate right from home and have it professionally installed. Don't miss Empire's half-price sale. Schedule now.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Labels, huh?
Some chicken brands use labels to trick people and charge higher prices.
Raised without antibiotics.
That's just marketing speak, because federal law requires all chicken to be clear of antibiotics before they leave the farm. You're not a vegetarian.
No, I'm not. Neither are chickens. That's why we feed them what they need. A healthy, balanced diet full of vitamins and animal protein like they naturally eat. You missed one.
Oh, did I?
Labels can be misleading.
Sanderson Farms. Good, honest chicken.
You can drive a truck, or you can team up with one. The 2017 Nissan Titan has your back for the long haul. Backed by America's best truck warranty. 5 years, 100,000 miles, bumper to bumper. Take on any job in Nissan Titan, America's fastest growing full-size truck brand. Get to your local Nissan dealer and save up to $11,260 on the 2017 Titan XD.
Support Kicks for the Kids by donating a pair of shoes for a child in need. Go to newsforjax.com/positively-jax for more information.
And here are the answers to our U.S. citizenship quiz. Why does the flag have 13 stripes? You might have remembered this from grade school, right? The stripes represent the 13 original colonies, being honored that they were colonies of Great Britain before America's independence. Well, here's the bonus question I give you. Why did the American flag have 15 stripes in 1794? It's because Kentucky and Vermont joined the United States, so the 2 stripes were added. And then in 1818, Congress decided the number should always be just 13. All right, well, thanks for staying with us this morning. You know, decades of disbelief and disappointment followed by a stunning discovery. This spring, Jacksonville police called Freddie Farah's family in to talk with them, then announced they had made an arrest 43 years after the murder of a man during a robbery attempt. Bobby Farah is joining us this morning alongside Ryan Backman from Project Cold Case, Inc. Bobby, you kind of get some credit here for convincing police to reopen the case of your father's death, and that was back in 1998. I know eventually DNA helped detectives match Johnny Lewis Miller in New Orleans. So, Ryan, you get some credit here from bringing in Project Cold Case as well. Tell me how this all happened, this collaboration.
Just went through in '98 and met a gentleman that, Jim Parker, that worked in Project Cold Case, for the Cold Case Sheriff's Office. Never knew there was such a thing. Asked him to look into it, and kind of didn't go too far because of technology. And then again in 2016, met with the Sheriff's Office again.
18 years later.
Yeah.
After that, we're already working on it. It's been 20 years or what have you since the murder there. You told me earlier you were only six when your father was killed, right?
That's correct.
And so there was something that motivated you as you grew up saying, I've got to know more, right?
I need answers, yes.
Yeah. Ryan, how did your organization come along here and partner, I guess?
Yeah, so, you know, our organization is all about helping families of unsolved homicides, and we try to do that as many ways as possible, whether a family comes to us or whether law enforcement comes to us. And we've partnered with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office recently, and they submit cases to us occasionally that they want our help in publicizing. And that happened in this case earlier this year. They sent over and said, hey, we're pulling this file and we're going to take a look. Do you mind putting it out on your website and social media and seeing if you can drum up some interest and maybe some tips or leads? And so we did that, and then sure enough, it wasn't our tips and leads. It was, you know, the detectives and some fingerprints. But that's a partnership that we've nurtured and developed, and along the way, they put myself in touch with Bobby Farah and his family, and I've gotten to know them, you know, prior to the arrest happening, and then obviously afterwards as well.
Let me give an update on the case. There was an arrest, and I know when I talked to you, Bobby, you said, I don't want to give that guy any more attention. So let me take this off the plate for you here. I think everybody would understand that, Bobby. But the well-known street performer you see in the picture on the left there, he was in New Orleans. He was extradited back to Jacksonville to stand trial in the 43-year-old murder case. 60-year-old Johnny Lee Miller, known as Uncle Louie, accused of killing Freddie Farah during a robbery at Farah's convenience store on Kings Road back in 1974. A court in Louisiana ordered Miller's extradition, and investigators got that break in the case back in May, as we're talking about, Ryan, as they got DNA match from the crime scene. So here we are. We've moved forward. There's an arrest, not a conviction. But what we're going to talk about here is you're planning a celebration anyway, a celebration of justice. Tell me why. Is it too early? Gosh, after 43 years, I would think not too early, right?
Not too early, yes, sir. I really want to help Project Cold Case get their balloon in the sky. What they do for people and victims like my family really brings light to us and brings hope to a lot of families. I've been to another function that they had and had a family come up to me and wanting to hug me because they're still holding out hope in a case, I believe, from 1996. So, you know, it's what they do is awesome. if I can help them get more publicity and funding to help, just because somebody shouldn't have to wait 43 years.
Yeah, and what you're kind of alluding to, Ron, is your group brings people who are kind of in similar situations together. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a network of over 1,400 unsolved murders in Jacksonville alone. Our organization covers the entire country. We have funding to help with the state, but I mean the numbers are massive, and a lot of people feel like at a certain point you start to lose a little hope, and even if you have it, you don't. 43 years later, your hope is maybe somebody will identify this guy even if he's not around anymore. Somebody, I don't want my loved one forgotten. And so we can put these people in a room together and they really bond over that experience and that loss and that tragedy. It brings them together.
Yeah, it sounds like it makes a difference. Just one sentence or less. Has it made a difference to you?
Absolutely. It's brought me a lot of closure. Unfortunately, it's bittersweet.
Yeah,
it's more so for my mother. So.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you sharing some of your story. I want to tell you more about the information you need to know on this fundraiser that's going to benefit Project Cold Case. Bobby has organized this to help celebrate justice for his father, Freddie Farah. So it's coming up. It's Saturday, July 22nd. It'll be at the Southern Grill located at 800 Flagler Avenue. That's on the South Bank. It's going to be from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. There's going to be food, drinks, live music, silent auction. And we've included some information at the bottom there. You want more information, you go to projectcoldcase.org/events. And this is just an incredible story. We're so sorry for the tragedy your family's endured, but so happy to see that there are some steps taken forward to get that closure that you want. Ryan, appreciate knowing that your organization is out there and trying to help families get some of that resolution that is so important for being able to go on with the rest of your life. My best to your family.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for your work.
Thank you, Kat.
All right, and thank you. This Week in Jacksonville airs each Sunday morning at this time. We invite you to come back, and you can always watch us on air on Channel 4 or online at newsforjax.com.
Now, more than ever before, more people get their news from News 4 Jax, Jacksonville's #1 source for local news.